Hello and welcome to another edition of 40's on the 80's, where we discuss, dissect, and sometimes trash our favorite things from the 80's. Anything in the 80's is fair game, and I am once again teamed up with my fellow 80's inmates. First off, Mr. Regal, Rick Baldwin, the Duke of Cool. Welcome back, sir.
Oh, greetings. How are you?
Doing okay. Have you gotten into any great retro films or shows since we last spoke?
Some reason I'm in a 60s like horror and 60s sitcom kick for the past 2 weeks.
60s sitcom. Give me an example.
Yeah. Well, like Dick Van Dyke. And then just engrossing myself in pretty much the universe of the movie that we're going to be speaking about.
And we're going to also add to our cultural ambiance here and our one and only favorite CEO of Amavita, dazzling Danny Sampson. Thanks for joining us tonight, Dan.
Hello, boys. How are we?
We're doing good. Have you, since the last time we spoke, maybe taken a walk down memory lane for any particular film or shows?
Not really, no. No. I mean, aside from the film under question today, I have not.
Okay. Did you have time to actually get into the film under question?
No. But I can... but I've been working. I had a family trip, but I've not been goofing off. It's just I had too much on lately to get into the movie, into today's movie. But I think from memory, I can make a pretty good conversation out of it. And I've just got some general things I want to talk about. You guys are the experts on this particular subject, anyway.
Well, I mean, we don't really need to get into the weeds of it. You know, it's like I've kind of started to learn to love the more broader topics that come from some of these films, as opposed to talking about how much money did the key grip make, which nobody gives a fuck about. So let's go ahead and talk about the film that's going to be guiding our discussion today. So this is 1984's horror from one of the American masters of the macabre, Mr. Wes Craven. And the film I'm talking about is none other than the original Nightmare on Elm Street, starring Heather Langenkamp, John Saxon, Robert Englund as the glove killer Freddy Krueger, and let's not forget the introduction of Mr. Johnny Depp. So have some coffee, stay awake with us as we fall into a deep, dark conversation about one of our favorites. Roll the trailer.
The kids of Elm Street don't know it yet, but something is coming to get them.
There's something out there, isn't there?
You could just see cuts happen.
What did that, Lieutenant?
I don't know. Tina! What's the coroner got to say?
He's in the jar and puking since he saw it.
They're gonna kill me for sure.
Did you do it?
There was somebody else there.
He was locked in a room with a girl who went in alive and came out in a rubber bag.
No one knows where it came from or who it will visit next.
Nancy? There's something wrong with you. You're imagining things.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Do you believe in the boogeyman?
No.
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
She's the only one who can stop it. If she fails,
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
no one will survive. Wes Craven, director of The Hills Have Eyes and Last House on the Left, a new masterpiece in fantasy terror, Nightmare on Elm Street.
The plot of this film actually revolves around a group of teenagers who begin dreaming about the same red and green sweater-wearing nut job with a knife glove and a hat that looks like it was found in the Well of the Souls by one of our favorite archaeologists. Sound scary? Well, if that same dream figure started knocking off your friends, counting off 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you, let's talk about the idea of if you die in your dreams, you die in real life. How have your dreams affected you, Dan?
You know, I don't really remember my dreams very often. It's one of the things that, there's a big difference between me and my wife. She always remembers what she's dreamed, and I barely do.
Does she
If
dream
I do
journal?
remember, huh?
Does she keep a dream journal?
I don't. No, not a journal as such. I mean, she journals, but it's not specifically about dreams. I'm sure there are stuff that there are parts of her dreams that she does that make it into the journal, but it's not specifically like waking up and writing what just happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, hers just, she does remember quite a lot of it. If I remember anything about it, when I first wake up, it's gone in seconds. But I mean, I think that the whole we may have mentioned this on a previous podcast, but I think that the premise here that Freddy visits you and kills you in your dreams, I think is just inspired. I mean, it's one of I mean, it's the best part about the film is this idea because of the inevitability of sleep. Like we all have to sleep at some point, right? Otherwise you go crazy. I mean, there's lots of documented studies of what happens to people and their mental state and their physical state as well when they are deprived of sleep for really any significant length of time. So this whole idea that this guy's going to get you when you fall asleep I think it's just brilliant because there is the inevitability of sleep, and so it makes a confrontation with him just something that is going to happen no matter how much you fight it. And yeah. I just think it's brilliant.
How about you, Rick? Have you had any sort of like dreams that stick out in your mind? And if so, do you feel like there's any sort of credence to what you feel or experience in your dream sort of transferring over to the real world?
When I started to lucid dream, yes.
Lucid dream, explain.
In layman's terms is that you're aware when you're in your dream.
Oh. So you've sort of trained yourself to recognize certain elements that you're dreaming.
Yeah, you can train your brain and prep it, and then sometimes it kind of just goes quick. And I've picked it up, like I think it took me about 2 weeks of doing it consistently and prepping for it, and then it started to work. And then when I want to, like, you still have to put some effort into it, but I can usually kind of do it again if I really want to do it. But after that, yeah, those dreams stand out. After that, I forgot all my other dreams.
But what sort of steps do you take to train yourself to prep for lucid dreaming?
Well, like usually, like looking at a watch or a clock. Like if the night that you want to lucid dream, you have intent on like what you want to do. So you're already dropping that seed like in your brain of like, what do I want to do in this dream? And it'd be something very specific. And something you should really know. Like the first time I did it is growing up, we would go to Wildwood, New Jersey, which is like an hour and a half away from Philly, and it's in South Jersey. So like that was my happy place. And like, even though I haven't been there in probably like 10 years, I still know the smell. I know that place inside and out. So that's something that was tangible in my brain that I could grasp onto. And then I thought about that. And during the day, and there's videos on YouTube too. Some of the quick tricks are like looking at time, because when you're in a dream and you're aware, if there is a clock or anything, you can't read the words, the numbers are jumbled. You can't read or any of that. It's kind of like bad AI when it tries to generate something for you and it's all misspelled. It's kind of like that.
Have you ever experienced anything like that, Dan, or noticed like words or writing in dreams? I can't recall any like that.
No, I mean, for me, I wouldn't remember it anyway. It's always just gone with me within seconds of me waking up.
It's like your conscious mind is overpowering your subconscious. It's like it's much stronger.
I think too, we don't remember our dreams as much as we used to, is mainly because one, we're all more busy, and two, we're more busy with a lot more tech. So like you kind of get numbed out to when you actually go to dream, like, oh, you really are just resting. You're not even thinking about dreams. And most of the time, we're not even get a full sleep cycle in.
The other night, I had a dream where I was at some sort of outdoor festival, and it felt like Texas for some reason. I was hanging out, I want to say, with Gal Gadot, and she was dressed up like Wonder Woman. And we ran into Bill Nye the Science Guy, who was shirtless and was like putting the moves on her really heavily. And it made me a little bit uncomfortable because I felt like almost like he wanted me to witness him put the moves on Wonder Woman.
I wonder what Freud would say. Dan, what's your take on that?
Something in there, obviously, about powerful women. and admiration perhaps that you have for them, and the the misbehavior of men towards them,
Science
minimizing
men,
them and all
yeah.
that, and you not liking that. That's that sounds to me like you're a good dude from your movie.
Yeah.
From your film, sorry. Dream.
From my film, my brain movies.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, dreams are definitely I have a seared memory of a nightmare I had as a child. And I don't know where it came from. Possibly it's like I was watching TV from behind the couch when my parents were watching some sort of ABC Sunday night movie. But it's like I have this image of, it's almost like an X-ray diagram of a two-headed type dragon, and you can see like the fire inside of it. For whatever reason, that scared me. And it's like that image has never left me my entire life. It's strange. But back to the movie at hand, Nightmare on Elm Street. So this was one that came out in 84. So thinking about where you were in 84, did you see it when it first came out, or did you have to wait a little while before you had access to it? Dan?
I mean, for me, this is one that I watched on VCR, on VHS, sorry.
Okay.
And it was like I would have been 8 when this came out. And this was one of those films, along with the likes of Friday the 13th and Halloween, that was like known as like it was a known horror film, right? There was nothing. It kind of crossed over from the horror, enthusiasts, people who are like really into the genre, into sort of mainstream consciousness. So I didn't watch it until years later. I would have been. I mean, I definitely didn't see it within, say, 5 years of it coming out.
How about you, Rick?
I saw the third one in the theater, and I was 8 when that came out, because that came out in 87. And then I went back and saw this on VHS, on a rental.
I would say a majority of my horror film experience was on the small screen. I'm trying to think of movies that we went and saw on the big screen that were horror, and that was kind of few and far between for me.
Well, did the base theater, did they play a lot of horror back then?
Well, living in Germany, the same theater that I was taken to wholly inappropriate action films. I did get to go see American Werewolf in London on that screen. Also saw the movie Ghost Story, sort of a story of a bunch of guys who were like childhood chums, and they get together in some sort of secret club.
Fred Astaire.
Yeah. So it's like they get together and they tell ghost stories, and then it turns out that they're being hunted by the ghost of a young girl that was killed when they were young men, and they covered it up. And this ghost is back for revenge. I can remember sitting in the movie theater with that one, like, my knees to my chest, and my, trying to watch the movie through my fingers, because it was stressful. It was intense. And there was no escape. I mean, that was the big downside to seeing a horror film in the movie theater. It just really felt like there was no escape, at least for a kid. I don't know. I guess as, if you were bigger, you could get out of there. But it is definitely a film that I did not see on the big screen. And the creation of the title villain, Freddy Krueger, it's kind of interesting. I watched a bit of a documentary on the making of it. And Wes Craven's just sort of talked about, how that character came about. And it was interesting how, like, the name Fred, and Rick, you probably know a little bit more on the history of this than I do, so I'll just say this one fact and you can take it away from there. But like, Wes Craven used to be beat up by a kid named Fred when he was a child. He was bullied by a guy named Fred. So I'm curious, Rick, what else what can you tell us about the creation of that character?
No, that is true. He took the name from a bully that used to pester him, and then the character itself, like with the red and green, is because he was smart and he did his research, and red and green have a psychological effect on your eyes when you're looking at it. It actually raises anxiety level. It builds tension, just visually seeing red and green together, which is amazing. I mean, maybe that's why there's so many fights like during Christmas time with families because of all the red and green together. Kind of puts it in perspective.
Interesting.
But he took it from the character itself that he was trying to put on display was based off of when he was a kid. He was looking out of a window and there was a creepy guy wearing like a fedora, kind of like Freddy in the Shadows when you see him, that stopped and stared at little Wes Craven and just then making that eye contact and that guy creeping him out that stayed with him for years until, he came up with this. And it was also, the not sleeping part actually was based off of cases that were out there in the newspaper, like from Asia and whatnot, of people claiming that there was something trying to get them. That's why they wouldn't sleep.
Yeah. I found it interesting that it's almost like he took all these different elements and mashed them together to create Freddy Krueger, which, it's an iconic villain. It's right up there with Frankenstein, with, Jason, Michael Myers.
It's 1984, and you being within law enforcement as well, even with the military, thinking McGruff. And that was like, when they really started with the Atom Code, all that, and kids getting naps. And then you see like, America's Most Wanted was starting to come about that.
What do you
so
mean
there
kids
was
getting
that
naps?
focus on napped, like kidnapped.
I could have swore you said kids getting naps.
No, napped.
I was like, you managed to work that into a Freddy Krueger discussion where, back in the 80s, it's like they were forcing kids to take naps and Freddy Krueger came about.
No, but yeah, so you think about it, at the time, there was a real threat to like kids. Mm-hmm. So it is alarming. And that the fact that this guy can get kids in their dreams makes it even worse.
So I'm curious, if the three of us just sort of put our creative minds together and created our own villain for a movie, let's say not yet been written, what sort of thing scares you, Dan? What sort of, whether it's a characteristic, a behavior, an environment, what sort of thing, just something, one thing that scares you or makes you uneasy?
It scares me.
Or maybe something that happened in, like Wes Craven describing something that he saw as a child stuck with him.
I think one of the things that's like the kind of the creepiest thing is, sort of like when there's like, sort of like the bad guy in whatever horror film that we have, that we might be watching it, but they have like a kind of a calm sort of demonic smile. Like, what I mean? Like
have you seen that horror series called Smile?
I'm aware of it, but I have not seen it. You guys know me. I'm a complete bitch when it comes to horror movies. I don't like watching them.
Give that one a try.
I don't like being scared.
Well, since we're on it,
I like to relax when I watch films, and being on edge for the whole time. Just it's not.
It's
a fun experience.
only a movie. It's only
Is it
a
though,
movie.
Rick? Is it?
Now
No,
you're
seriously,
starting to act like Mary Whitehouse.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Were you in England when this got released?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
8
Yeah,
years old,
yeah.
sure.
I didn't move to the US until my mid-20s.
Okay.
Okay, so was this movie censored or was it on her video nasty list?
I think it was on the video nasties list. I think. Let me look that up. Actually, that's an interesting one because I know for things like Friday the 13th was, and then and those like Italian cannibal horror movies, they were. And
Yeah.
there was I think Abel Ferrara's Driller Killer was on there.
I know Texas Chainsaw Massacre was like banned outright for like 20 some
Correct.
years.
Yeah, that great example. That was as well.
Great marketing
but I'm not
tagline
sure.
there. So Dan, if you're going to look that up, Rick, let me ask you, what sort of things or characteristics or environments scare you?
I mean, they have all been done.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
But I think out of all of them, I think, and I like Freddy. I like Freddy a lot. And as I understand, as the franchise grew, he became more of, more comical in a way. And I get why they did that, and then the character evolved. But I still think that if you're going for a slasher, the original Michael Myers Halloween 1, not the rest of them, just the original, if they would have left it that after he got shot 6 times and then he was gone, leave it at that. That would have made it the creepiest slasher ever. And
Why?
they ruined it. Because there was so much mystery, leave it there. Because the unknown is way more horrifying than when we have to know everything.
Okay.
And like now, you see that like with all these franchises, like now they have to do backstories of like supporting characters, and they'll do like a series off of that. It's just too much information. Leave the characters, especially when it's a killer. Let there be mystery about it. Don't give us so much damn detail. It's scarier.
So from your input there, creating a film that we're working on together as a trio, there has to be an unknown element, and the unknown element makes it creepier than the known element.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Like, okay, simple. When you're courting a young lady, do you want to know everything all up in front, or do you like that, it's I'm not saying the chase, but it keeps you interested because you don't know everything. She's still a mystery.
You saying that
So
really sparked something in my head that I have said many times before, that I feel like a scantily clad woman is way more seductive, alluring, erotic than a completely nude woman. So like a woman in lingerie versus a completely nude woman. I would be more focused on the woman in lingerie, honestly.
I'm not going to say just lingerie over nude. I'm just saying in regards to saying like, okay, she's wearing like a G-string to like the store, or is the lady's like, dressed
come on.
classy.
We're not talking about, what you see at Walmart on YouTube.
What I'm saying is, yeah, you need to have that mystery. Just like
yeah.
with the horror, like in the 60s, you didn't see a lot of on-screen kills. You saw in the shadows, and that was always scarier because your brain is always going to make it much worse than what they're going to show you. Or you do the old Hitchcock where he screws with the audience and lets them in on it and shows them like that ticking bomb to build the tension.
Right.
So he reversed it, and then the character is not in on it. But the audience, they go on that roller coaster. You need to have an emotional response to it. If you get all that information, there's nothing to go chasing.
Were you able to find anything, Dan?
Yes, I was. It was not on the video nasties list originally, because it came out a little bit later than that. That video nasties list apparently was compiled in 1982. So obviously this came out a couple of years after that.
Was the list never updated?
No, I don't think so. Well, I think that there was there's various updates to that, and I also think that the commercial success of Nightmare on Elm Street, and that it wasn't like excessively gory either, was led it to kind of not really make the list of those kinds of films. But also that list, I think, was relatively quickly abandoned as well with new licensing and stuff.
I may have gotten that confused with his other one, his first one, Last House on the Left, because I know that one was a hard movie to get through at first.
Yeah, for sure. And so was
Hills Have Eyes, right?
Yep, I Spit on Your Grave was another one, or also known as The Day of the Woman. That was a fucking brutal film.
Wes Craven didn't do that one, did he?
No, but I'm just saying other films that are on that list.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that came out right after The Hills Have Eyes, and then you had like that stretch of like a year or two movies where these revenge flicks would come about.
No, I mean, I think one of the things I think is an interesting thing to explore here, right, is like, and I suppose this is true of like a lot of horror films, certainly true of Halloween. These films are they are morality tales, as we've talked about before, but they are also, in a very real sense, a kind of a celebration of the power of young people. For something like this, obviously, Freddy ends up being defeated by what's Heather Langenkamp's
Nancy.
Nancy, thank you, goodness, man. I knew it was Nancy.
We love you, Nancy.
Yeah, we love you, Nancy. But I think it's a really interesting thing to reflect on. When you think about youth films and films that celebrate, what young people are capable of, something like The Breakfast Club would come to mind.
Okay.
But something like Nightmare on Elm Street is absolutely of a piece with The Breakfast Club, in terms of thinking about the resourcefulness and the resilience of young people and the challenges that they may face. I mean, the whole thing is kind of a metaphor about growing up anyway, right? I think that's a really interesting angle to kind of contemplate when you're thinking about Nightmare on Elm Street and what it represents.
You have absolutely planted the seed now where I want to see The Breakfast Club encounter Freddy Krueger. Final girl. So Heather Langenkamp does fall into that category, wouldn't she, for this film?
Very much so. But then obviously the moment when she finally defeats Freddy is her standing up to him, right? Like, she's not screaming, she's not scared. She realizes that his power comes from their fear, doesn't she?
Yeah.
And her sort of like kind of basically going, like fight like toe to toe with him kind of thing, really does that robs him of all of his power. It's really sort of spectacular.
One of the interesting, I have the movie playing in the background right now, but it's a scene where she is dreaming and she is running away from Freddy, goes into her house and starts to run up the stairs, and is met by her stairs basically turning to marshmallow. So it's like she's running in place.
Yeah, that's clever.
And well, that is something that I am very familiar with from dreams I've had. Not sure if you guys have experienced that one. I've had dreams where I've been fighting or had to fight someone, and it felt like I was underwater, swinging underwater. Meanwhile, the person I was fighting was going regular speed. It was like maddening. It's like you're swinging as hard as you can, but it's just going in slow motion.
Sure. And there's a version of that of like not being able to speak or to shout, like if you need help in your dream, right? Like, that you can't find your voice for whatever reason. There's the feeling of helplessness in all of that is very real, isn't it?
That really leads right into another situation that I've experienced in sleep, and that is sleep paralysis. Are you familiar with that one, Dan?
Go on.
I shall. So apparently there is some sort of mechanism that's built into us biologically which turns off our physical reactions that we are experiencing in our dreams, so that way we do not enact those in reality. So for instance, while I was fighting in my dreams, I wasn't fighting in real life. So like if I were laying next to someone, I wasn't actually, swinging, punching. Now, obviously, there are, plenty of instances where that crosses over. People sleepwalking, people acting things out, people talking in their sleep. Sleep paralysis is sort of the opposite of that, where that switch, when you wake up, has failed to flip over sort of from virtual reality to reality. And while you're asleep, your brain is saying, arms, don't swing because you might hurt somebody because you're dreaming. But then when you wake up, if that switch doesn't flip quickly enough, you're awake, you're conscious, you know it's around you, but you are unable to move. So it's that sleep paralysis. I've seen that talked about like in several different paranormal shows, but I experienced that myself once, and that was when I was living in Virginia. And it was a condo building, and just below me was an old couple, an elderly couple. The husband had passed away not too long back from dementia. He actually passed away on the premises. And then the elderly woman that was his wife, she was like in her 90s. She also passed away. Sweet old lady. But one particular night, I was dreaming and dreamt that both of them were basically standing in my bedroom looking at me. And it kind of jolted me awake, but I was unable to move. It's like I just could not turn over to look to see where they were standing in the dream. I was frozen, and that feeling of helplessness was terrifying. It took several moments for me to finally, kick back into reality, and I was able to move around, and I was able to look, turn lights on, and do what I had to do. But it was just that for that brief moment. I mean, it was just the craziest experience. Have either one of you guys ever experienced that?
I experienced it one time, and I think it had to do with just doing too many things. It was right after I got out, and I was working full time at night. I was going to school full time, and I was also doing like an internship at the same time. So like I would just sleep when I could find a gap, and I had like a 2-hour gap before I had to go back to the school and take an exam. And I slept for like an hour, and I woke up like I was in a dream that I didn't want to be in, or I got like aware really quick, and I kind of woke up. And when I did, like I couldn't move for probably a minute, but I felt like I couldn't breathe for probably about like 20 seconds. So of course it seems a lot longer.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, like my body just went back to what it needed to do, and all systems were a go again. So it was really weird, but I was just like, I need to get some sleep because it's like I'm frying something somewhere.
I've also heard there's a theory that apparently like a second in reality in a dream, it's sort of stretched out. And I think the movie Inception kind of explored that, where it's like you can have an entire story play out in your mind while you're asleep in a dream, but in reality, that whole story elapsed in like the span of seconds. So whereas reality is progressing at a normal rate, second by second, within that dream, it's accelerated. So if there was like a way to somehow influence your dream to do a study or read a book in your dream, it would take seconds, and you would be able to basically, have that entire experience in a much quicker rate than you would in reality. You ever heard of that one, Dan?
I don't think I have, no.
Have you seen the movie Inception?
Yeah, but like years ago. Like, well, I saw it. I that was actually one I did see in the theater when it came out.
Superb special effects, love that one. But that was the one where it's like, when they started going deeper into dreams, reality slowed, whereas like, whatever level of dream they were in was progressing at a normal rate. So that one it really sort of latched on to that whole concept of the possibility of time moving at different rates within your dream, because your mind can process information faster.
Right.
Why is Heather Langenkamp's character, Nancy, being targeted? Why are all of these kids being targeted in this film?
The parents were part of the revenge attack against Freddy when he was let off, right?
Right. But it's like the only parents that seem to be connected to this story is Heather's parents. And she's kind of on the outs with her father, right? If I'm not mistaken, I think they're not living in the same house.
Well, no, wait a minute. All of the kids, in all of the main four, the principal four kids, all say that they're having the same nightmares.
The kids are,
of the
yeah.
film, right?
But we don't really explore any of the other kids' parents, with the exception of Tina's mother, who is apparently a whore.
Yeah,
well,
but she said all the other kids' parents.
Right.
So, I mean, it was a community-based decision to kill Freddy.
Right.
And you kind of had to pick one of the children to be the star, right? It had to focus on. So, like, I'm sure it's probably just for like scripting and timing purposes. You couldn't have gone into the backstories on all of them. You kind of got a sense of them, right? Like, Tina was this kind of. Heather had her kind of like life together. She was kind of the good student.
Yeah.
Tina was a bit of a tearaway. Her boyfriend was obviously he was the kind of the rebel leather jacket wearing, douche.
Yeah.
And then you had Johnny Depp, who was kind of more clean cut and more respectable. So like they were kind of, those two were from the the kind of the quote unquote good families, and then Tina and her boyfriend were from the other side of the tracks.
Sure.
But that's kind of as much as you really needed to know about them, because the story centered on Nancy.
But as the story unfolds, we also find out that Heather's mother actually has his glove in her possession in the basement.
Yeah, absolutely. Even more of a reason why she would be the central figure in terms of being the.
Well, plus
heroine,
too, her
right?
father's a cop, so. And he's been a cop there for a while, so
Might have
of
been
course
involved in
he
the
could.
original investigation.
Yeah, he could cover up the investigation if the state had to come in, or if anybody else, and he could hide the evidence.
So one of the theories I came across, and this is just a fan theory, is that Nancy is actually the illegitimate child of Freddy Krueger.
No way.
that, like I said, it's a fan theory. It's not,
Yeah.
and these things can, take some severe left turns.
Yeah, that is bollocks, though.
But, it kind of puts an interesting slant on it because it's like her mother seems to be, she's involved with the story. She has his glove. She's on the outs with the husband for whatever reason. She's an alcoholic. She's trying to basically bury whatever is going on within her. Nancy has the ability to bring things out of her dream. None of the other kids managed to do that one. And I don't even think until, we get into the Dream Warriors do we start to see other kids have, the ability to have some sort of powers within the dreams. But I don't recall, and Rick, correct me if I'm wrong, any of the other kids or any of the other characters bringing something from the dream into reality. Did that ever happen besides Nancy?
In the other movies, I believe it did. In one of, I'd have to go back and watch all of them again, but I do believe that somebody did bring something back with them from a dream when they had an encounter. It could have been one of the. It could have been maybe in the third one.
Yeah.
Remember when they were fighting them?
The third one was Dream Warriors, right?
It would be maybe in that one, or maybe in Freddy's Dead, which is the sixth one.
Oh gosh, yeah, I don't even remember what happened in that one.
It's got the Inagata Devita.
Oh, was that the one that was supposedly 3D?
I don't remember if it was 3D or not. I had it on VHS, and I had the poster too because the video store down the street would put their posters in a box, and I hit it off with them so then I could go down there like every couple of weeks and just get whatever posters I wanted and put them in my room.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that
Good
it's
old
like
days.
I read a little bit of that fan theory, and it kind of stemmed from the idea that, one, we spend a lot of time seeing Nancy's mother. She's got the glove. Her relationship is on the rocks. But then also the fact that she is in that final scene, which is largely confusing to most people. I mean, I think to everybody, really. Probably even the people that made the film. You know what I mean? It's like she has her confrontation with Freddy. Freddy, is destroyed, whatever, he goes away. And then she wakes up and it's like the sun is up and mom is sober. All of her friends show back up. They're all alive again in the car. And then all of a sudden the car has that red and green roof that flips closed. And like, what's happening? And then Freddy's arm comes through that little window in the door and pulls the mom through the door. So again, the fan theory there is that the entire movie is a dream of Nancy's mother, who is being tormented by her ex-lover, Freddy.
Why would Freddy want to kill his own child then?
Well, that's what I mean. The entire film is a dream of Heather's mother. That, like I said, it's a theory.
Oh, I like that. So that one is, as in, like, it's not really happening, and it's just like a mother's worst nightmare.
Right. So it's like Freddy is after her child.
That's quite
trying
nice.
to kill her child. So I mean,
Sure.
Yeah, and it, maybe she did have some sort of interaction with him at some point, because I did go back and try to start watching the TV series again, Freddy's Nightmares. If either of you guys have seen those, but it's like the first episode is kind of a backstory of how Freddy became Freddy.
I did not see those, no.
Yeah, I mean it's very low budget. The special effects are nothing really to speak of. Some of the stories are pretty interesting, but that series kicks off with Freddy talking about, I've seen your nightmares. Now here's one of mine. And he sort of tells the story of how he was in court. The whole case was dismissed because the search warrant wasn't properly signed off. He was released. The parents all got together, tracked him down, and burned him alive. That was probably the most interesting part that I remember of that series. And then it went on from there to where there was just a lot of weird, random stories. And then somehow, I don't know if it would ever really connected to Nightmare on Elm Street. But yeah, that first episode of Freddy's Nightmares, it was sort of like Rick talked about. It took away some of the mystery and explained things. It became a prequel. But yeah, coming across those fan theories, and I was like, that's different, and I kind of enjoy some fan theories, like with Big Lebowski, the idea that one of the characters is actually an imaginary character, and wow, I never thought of it that way. It sort of puts a new spin on a movie that you're familiar with.
Yeah.
Putting that spin on Nightmare on Elm Street, and I've always been kind of baffled by the ending. Never really made sense to me, especially since the character of Nancy comes back, in subsequent film. What was it? She was in Dream Warriors Part 3.
She was in Dream Warriors because she was working at the hospital as a therapist.
Right. And then she was also in some other ones, right? Was it Another One or Another Ones?
She came back in New Nightmare where she was actually playing herself.
Right.
And Freddy came out of the universe and was actually in her real life.
Yeah.
And it was actually, it was a fun movie. It was an interesting take, and Wes was behind that.
He was in that one too, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So, I mean, I liked it.
Yeah, I saw. I never saw any of those really. I saw Dream Warriors, but yeah, the ending is. I mean, I'm sure it's just a function of in the same way that Friday the 13th ends in
like with a jump scare.
Yeah, exactly. You have that kind of serene scene of floating in the in the boat in the middle of the lake, and then wallop, like that thing happens. It's a way to kind of keep the whole thing going, and there's also something. There is something kind of questionable, I suppose, about Freddy's demise, because he sort of disappears,
Yeah,
or sort of
it's like he
almost like evaporates kind of thing, doesn't he? Right. So it's like it's not necessarily he's in the real world, and then when she confronts him, he sort of evaporates because he can't feed off her fear anymore.
Well, he evaporates into like some sort of electrical mist, but then it's like the mother looks like she's a been burned alive corpse laying on a bed that basically descends into smog, which is also confusing to me. I'm like, what the hell happened there?
Yeah, well, no. I mean, all I was going to say was just like he sort of evaporates.
Yeah,
but it's not necessarily like a real definitive death.
Right,
and
that's,
so he could
why
have
I brought up that other
returned to.
thing. Is just it's like those two things. They seem kind of confusing that were thrown in that I don't really understand the significance.
But he could have returned. What I'm trying to say is he could have like returned to like the spirit realm kind of thing, I suppose, right? And it lives to fight another day. So yeah, but it's also, I'm sure it's also just a mechanism to make sure they can keep making films.
But I think Wes Craven, I did some YouTube video watching where there were documentaries where apparently they filmed several different endings and they weren't sure which one they were going to use. And Wes Craven was not even, considering the idea of sequels. It's like he sort of had this idea for this film, but, they did leave it kind of ambiguous to where there could be a possibility of return. And, much like other villains in, that whole genre, the final chapter, the final ending, the last one, they always make it seem like it's the last one, but then they come back because it's, it's a cash cow. Why would you?
Yeah, for sure.
Why would you do away with that?
When Freddy's Nightmares, the show that you were talking about, I believe that was on Fox. That was right around the same time, like The Simpsons and everything was going on. So by that time, 4 years, they had 3 movies or 4 movies. And by the end of the decade, they already had part 5 done. They had such marketing behind it. I mean, he had action figures. I had a figurine. You could buy his claws. So kids were running around with his claws.
Yep.
It was a kid killer in the movie, but let's make toys for kids.
Yeah, and that's one of those things, isn't it? When where you have like certain scary characters kind of end up transcending the film and just being part of kind of pop culture. Freddy is a great example of that. But equally, something like Dracula, if you want to go further back, Frankenstein and those things, they sort of they lose the scare factor because the people start to kind of they've kind of got past the point of like, oh wow, this is like this is a threat, this is somebody who is like a murderous like maniac, and then they become kind of something else. They become just akin to any other kind of pop culture figure.
Now, as far as weapons go, I mean, do you feel like that glove knife hand thing is actually practical?
It's scary because it tells you about the character, that his background, kind of like where he works, and what he's got access to, and that he can make something that can do they can take your life like that. That's horrifying, especially for a kid. And that's the thing is like seeing this as a kid and kind of like I was saying, at that time we were all being told like, don't go strangers, don't talk to strangers. And you see this guy that if you were a kid by yourself on the street, he would scare the hell out of you.
Right.
So yeah, that claw, it's very personal because you can't just shoot somebody. You can't do it from distance.
Right.
You are going to be seeing this guy most likely eye to eye when he's killing you. That's horrifying.
And he's probably, spending most of his time with that glove doing things like they show in the movie where he's scraping it along pipes, making the noise, or just, doing things to scare his victim as opposed to it actually being the most practical way to dispatch your victim, which might just be just a regular handled blade, so you can get rid of the evidence really easily.
Yeah, and I also think there's an added element of it being sort of like an extension of his body. So it's not like an holding an axe or even a knife, right? Which is external. It's actually kind of attached to his hand, so he in a sense becomes the murder weapon himself. I think there's something in that too.
Interesting.
Well, it's just shows you that how evil he is. The fact that he's got this device that we didn't see up until that time to kill people, and what people are killing, he's going after kids, which is that's always gets your attention, like because socially you really try to protect children and seniors
and women.
And women, but I mean, like within horror, you knew that unfortunately women are usually on the platter,
right?
Especially in slasher movies. So,
but in terms of cinema acceptability, when it comes to killing, no women, no kids. If
but that's kind of been
kill
thrown
dudes
out
all day
now.
long. It's just like like Indiana Jones films. You can kill Nazis all day long. No one's going to bat an eye.
Rather fun, actually.
So, yeah, taking it back to that, that original question that I'd asked you guys about things that have scared you or that make you uneasy, and then rolling it into the idea of a film. There have been a couple of times where I've been taking a shower, and I've kind of gotten into the habit to where, I really don't do the traditional way of shaving anymore, where it's like, you're standing over the sink, you use a shaving cream, you get the lather, and, you do it. I have my razor in the shower. And so it's like, as I'm showering, there are times where it's like, shampoo the hair, wash the face, put the beard wash in, and then I'll, just reach for the razor and kind of start shaving my neck. And there have been several times where, for whatever reason, there have been a paranoid image pop into my head, like, what if someone had done something to my razor that I didn't know about? Someone came in and replaced the blade with something that was just horrendous or had some sort of bacteria or some sort of virus on it, because I'm not looking at it, I'm not examining it. Or while I'm doing that, and then I wash away the shampoo, I open my eyes, and then someone is standing right outside of the shower door, which is a glass door. And then that sort of thing for me, it's like that fear of things being in a place where they shouldn't be. Like in the old TV show of It, where John Ritter is driving down the road in the cab and Pennywise the clown is just standing off the side of the road waving at him as he drives by. There's no fucking reason a clown should be standing there on the side of the road. Clowns belong in a circus. They don't need to be anywhere else.
That's what makes it so creepy.
Exactly. So it's like things that are in a place where they don't belong, is definitely an element that I would add into a film. Much like Dan talking about, like that creepy demonic smile, or Rick, you talking about the unknown, the factor, so it's like, and this is something that I came across. I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but apparently Nightmare on Elm Street was selected for preservation in the U.S. National Film Registry by the Library of Congress.
For being culturally significant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What other film
absolutely.
can you name is in the fucking National Film Registry? I can't think of any.
Night of the Living Dead.
Okay, so there's two.
Casablanca. There's actually a bunch, like all the big ones that are usually on the AFI top list.
Yeah,
they're
like
usually
Top
protected.
100, The Great Gatsby and whatnot. And
Yeah,
I'm sure.
they actually have preserved and protected a lot more film. That there's a whole listing out there that you can go on their site and see everything that's protected.
again, it's like he took something that he pulled elements together to create this villain, dropped it into this scenario that everybody experiences, sleeping and dreaming, and basically made it culturally significant. I mean, that is amazing to me.
I think so too. And I mean, I don't know what, if anything, would, what horror films would make the cut now. I mean, obviously, this is one of the things that's so incredible about the period of time that we're talking about, is there was just there were so many firsts, of that kind of that late 70s filmmaking going into the 80s. There's so many things that you can kind of point to and be like, oh wow, that was like truly pioneering. Like, I can't imagine, Rick, what's that new series of films with the guy with the clown face, and they're like really, really grim and violent? Terrifier, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
I can't imagine like that guy, that series of films making it into the national, registry of film.
But Nightmare on Elm Street did.
But yeah, because I think what it is, I mean, you're talking about a film that came out 40 years ago, and it's like, these were sort of genre. They evolved the genre. These films. These are kind of like,
Well, the special effects weren't what was groundbreaking about it. That's what I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
Well, no, but it was like, I don't like this term. I hate the term elevated horror, but like, that is kind of this. It wasn't as mindless as just like, just a gross out sort of slasher film.
Yeah. Is it the inclusion of the common experience of dreams, do you think, that maybe made it?
Yeah, I think it was kind of, there was definitely an artistic edge to it. I mean, the way the film looks there's definitely art to it. Wes Craven obviously had already proven himself a very important filmmaker. And it is a kind of a high concept film with the dream stuff. I do think it has a lot to say, like we said earlier in the pod, like about what it means to be a young person and all of the challenges and the anxieties that go along with that. And there's a lot going on in this film, and I'm not surprised it's been honoured in this way. I think there's a lot to be very impressed by in this film.
But yeah, it's like when I read that it was put into the protected National Archives or whatever by the Library of Congress, I was like, really? No shit, and it just made me wonder, when was the last time you heard of a film being protected like that?
Well, I bet that, I mean, something, I would imagine there's probably quite a few seminal films. I would bet you the Star Wars films are in there. Citizen Kane would be another. Films like, perhaps like, well, I suppose we can look it up, right? I mean, we can see which films are in the national film. I mean, there's a gang of them. 2001, 310 to Yuma,
yeah, I mean, that
Alien,
makes sense. Yeah. But
All the President's Men,
Amadeus. How about a recent
film?
How about anything after 2010?
2010, okay, let me see. Back to the Future's in there.
It makes sense.
So is Beverly Hills Cop, so is The Big Lebowski.
There you go, yeah.
Yeah. Blade Runner, Blazing Saddles.
Yep.
These are all, as you can imagine. Boys in the Hood, I like that. The Breakfast Club.
I can see that.
Yeah. Broadcast News. Bullet.
Well, sure, yeah.
Yeah, Cabaret. Casablanca, like we said.
I saw another film list where Casablanca was listed as like number 2, is like, on the list of 100 most important films to watch in your lifetime. I'm aware of Casablanca, but I've never actually sat down and watched it in its entirety. Have either of you guys?
I have not.
I've done 2 articles on it, and I did a term paper on it. So yes.
All right. So since 2010, there haven't been many.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
But into the 2000s, let me just read the ones from the 2000s,
Sure.
And this is the year of, this is not their year of induction. This is their year of release.
Okay.
Bamboozled, Into the Arms of Strangers.
What the fuck is that?
I have no. It's a documentary. Love and Basketball, Memento, Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring.
That's a great
Shrek,
film.
Spy Kids.
Shrek?
Yeah, Spy Kids. Christ.
Come on.
Yeah.
This is quickly losing legitimacy in my mind.
Real Women Have Curves, The Fog of War, 13 Lakes, Brokeback Mountain, obviously, No Country for Old Men, The Dark Knight, The Hurt Locker, Iron Man, Wall-E, fantastic, Freedom Riders, The Social Network, Pariah, 12 Years a Slave, and then 20 Feet from Stardom. I wonder what the actual selection criteria is.
Well, that's something that I've often wondered about as well, and it's like I've heard stories about, like, especially when it comes to films that are nominated for Academy Awards, is apparently there is a lot of lobbying and advertising that is involved with being even nominated.
Yeah.
There's a lot of legwork involved with just being nominated, and
that's why Weinstein was so prestigious at the awards, is because of his lobbying behind the scenes to get the win.
Huh. So he knew how to get the right kind of lobbying to get attention.
Oh
to
yeah,
his film.
because that would help with his future financing and all that, and that would, all those awards help him land future deals.
But what's really interesting is there is a kind of a, seems to be a sort of a real variance in when films come out and then when they are inducted actually into the registry. So some of them are relatively short. There's a film here called Pariah, came out in 2011, but then went into the National Film Registry in 2022.
That's a long
but then
stretch.
you've got something like The Phantom of the Opera, the original one that came out in 1925, didn't go into the National Film Registry until 1998.
Well, when was the film registry established?
Or way before that. There's inductions in 1992.
It almost sounds like a creation of the 90s.
Let's see.
Yeah, but when was the Phantom of the Opera? Was that 23 or 25?
Thought he said
1925,
32.
yeah.
Oh, 25, sorry.
Yeah.
So if it got released in the late 90s, if that was protected under copyright, isn't that 70 years before it goes in public domain?
Interesting.
Yeah. It seems like 1989 is the first induction. But something like Platoon is on here, came out in 1986, didn't go until 2019.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that was significant. That was a significant film.
How about Commando?
Godfather, 1972, didn't go until 1990. Yeah.
So that's, again, I'm curious to know what the pattern is as far as, is there a correlation between Academy nominations and being submitted to the historical, whatever we're talking about here, by the Library of Congress?
Is Halloween on there?
I will tell you. One sec. Oh, look at this though. 2001 came out in 1968, didn't go in until 1991. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any logic to it. I don't know whether, to your point, Red, whether there's like a concerted effort to. Halloween is indeed on there, mate.
Okay.
Obviously came out in 78. Year of induction 2006. Huh.
So why the long time span?
Yeah, but to your point, Red, about the lobbying thing, maybe there comes a time where there's a concerted lobbying effort to get the film into the registry.
So
Yeah, but
it comes at different times.
Can normal citizens start lobbying for a film?
I don't know.
Good question. The original House of Wax. That's interesting.
With Vincent
Came out in
Price.
1953 and went
Yep,
into the registry.
3D. Charles Bronson was in it. His sidekick, Charles, is Charles Bronson before he was Bronson.
No shit.
So listen to this. So the NFPB.
What is NFPB?
National. So that is the National Film Registry is the United States National Film Preservation Board's NFPB.
Okay.
So that's the administrative body. So they add up to 25 culturally, historical, or aesthetically significant films every year in December to showcase the range and diversity of American film. So a film becomes eligible for inclusion 10 years after its release, and the first entry was 1989. That's when they started doing this. And then so blah blah blah. Blah, blah.
Does it explain
Since
preservation? I mean, what does that mean exactly? Is it like they seal it in a vault or something, and it doesn't?
I would imagine
change?
there's a print of it, that is in the library, that is preserved for all time. So no matter what happens, I mean, in the age of streaming, it's kind of maybe this is less important because the stuff is forever, right? But
sure.
Well, I suppose assuming everything gets digitized at some point, but Apparently since 1997, members of the public have been able to nominate up to 50 films a year to the NFPB and the librarian of the registry, and that you have to do that as a member of the public by August, apparently.
Wow.
I guess I know what I'll be doing tonight.
What?
Yeah, the National Film Registry includes film ranging from Hollywood classics
Pee-wee.
to orphan film.
You're going to be nominating Pee-wee?
Yeah.
Yes,
film is-
I'm going to pull
yeah.
an Andy Dufresne. I'm going to nominate this movie every year for the next 19 years until I get my damn library like he did.
Fuck it,
I'm
man.
sure
Yeah.
you're not alone, mate. Yeah.
Post it
A
on
film is not
social
required
media.
to.
Get it on our channel. Let's fucking make it happen.
Maybe
film
that's
is not
something that we can do. Go ahead, Dan.
I was just going to read this last thing out just so everybody knows. A film is not required to be feature length, nor is it required to have been theatrically released in the traditional sense of the term. There we go. All right, carry on, guys.
What are the requirements, Dan? Does it say for
What do you
getting
mean?
something submitted to the film registry?
I think you just have to go online and do it yourself. It doesn't say it just says the public can do it.
Yeah. Does it say a
and
number of votes or anything like that? Or
It doesn't say, no, I think it just gets, it doesn't say anything about that. Like the submissions are sent in and evaluated by the librarian and the National Film Preservation Board.
Plus, with Paul Rubens, since he passed, and his documentary that was about his life was actually really good. I watched it maybe like a week or two ago. So I think it'd be perfect timing. So that's going to be my, it's what I'm going to be trying to pitch, is get Pee-wee protected. Plus, the bike's down at the Alamo, so it'd be good press.
so, what do you think, Dan? Are you on board with this this project to try to preserve Pee-wee's Big Adventure, even though you've never watched it?
Yeah, why not? So
You
apparently,
never watched it?
We talked
No,
about that
I haven't.
before, man. That's why he didn't. He
All
didn't
right,
hop
you
on
got to
that.
watch it. I can't have him doing it if he hasn't watched it. I don't want him just to do it if he doesn't like it. I don't want it to be like
won't like
Beetlejuice. Like this is shit.
He won't like it. He'll like it less than Beetlejuice. I guarantee.
Well, then
you.
I don't want him. I don't want Dan just to do it if he
What?
doesn't like it.
He's part of the team.
Okay, I understand that, but I don't want him to force him along to put his stamp of approval on a film that he doesn't like.
All right. Well,
Thank you, Rick.
Let's pull
You're
back the
welcome.
reins there. Ease back, Rick. You're a little bit fired up.
You're the one that's tense,
no,
not
you're
me.
a little fired up. So, what is a film that the three of us could agree on for inclusion?
Commando.
Yeah.
I could say that. Yeah. I mean, I feel it's culturally significant. It's the granddaddy of all action films, right?
Oh,
100%.
Dan, are you still on that site?
I am.
Check for The Warriors.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
That is extremely unique and culturally significant.
And one of the best movies ever. I watched it again last week. It was on.
Regret to inform the Warriors is not in there. However,
Commando.
I'm happy to say that the Terminator is.
Well, thank God for that. So we've got the Warriors as the cause celebre, and also possibly Commando. So I would submit to the panel here that since all three of us agree on both Warriors and Commando, that we pick one of those as our initial sort of kickoff with the.
I think the
possible-
Warriors is a good choice.
Yeah, but how are we going to do it? It's 1979.
What do you mean? How are we going to do it?
Well, we should probably try to save an 80s film first.
Oh, good point. Yeah, good point.
I see.
I didn't think
As much as I love the Warriors, and I mean,
Yeah,
that's
true.
the reason why I dropped that concept. I wanted the concept with the time machine just so we could cover it.
True.
But
True. All right, Commando. I'm on board.
I mean, that's what brought all of us to the show anyway.
That's true. It was our first episode. All right. Gentlemen, I definitely appreciate you taking the time out of your days, your evenings, what have you, to be able to, spend some time on the call here and sharing your opinions, sharing your thoughts, and sharing some facts. So it's like I really am interested in this cause de célébrer of trying to get the film Commando inducted into the National Film Registry. If we can make that happen, I might actually get that engraved onto my tombstone. So let's make that work. You guys on board?
Yes.
Dan's on board. Rick?
Yes.
I knew you were going to say that. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us here on 40's on the 80s. And as always, stay classy, San Diego.
See you in your dreams.
See you later.
Doctor, what on earth do you think happened to that poor boy?
Nurse, in all my years of medical practice, I've never seen anything quite so horrid. Doc, what happened to Jeff, man? What happened to Jeff, man? Your friend is very ill. Who did this to you, man? What's done? I'm telling you, Jeff. You've done it. Nobody does it.
Now I have a story that I'd like to tell about this guy you all know. He has me scared as hell. He comes to me at night after I crawl into bed. He's burnt up like a weenie and his name is Fred. He wears the same hat and sweater every single day. And even if it's hot outside, he wears it anyway. He's home when I'm awake, but he shows up when I'm asleep. I can't believe that there's a nightmare on my street. If I remember it right, and we had just gotten back off tour last night. So the gang and I thought that it would be groovy if we summoned up the posse and dumb rush the movies. I got Angie, Jeff got Tina, Reddy Rock got some girl I've never seen in my life. That was alright though, cause the lady was chill. Then we dipped to the theater, set to ill, bugging, cold, having a ball. And something about Elm Street was the movie we saw. The way it started was decent, you know, nothing real fancy about this homeboy named Fred and this girl named Nancy. But word, when it was over, I said, yo, that was death. And everything seemed alright when we left. But when I got home and laid down to sleep, that began the nightmare on my street. Soaked with sweat, and man, I was bugging. I checked the clock, it had stopped at 12:30. It had melted, it was so darn hot, and I was thirsty. I wanted something cool to quench my thirst. I thought to myself, yo, this heat is the worst. But when I got downstairs, I noticed something was wrong. I was home all alone, but the TV was on. I thought nothing of it as I grabbed the remote. I pushed the power button, and then I almost choked when I heard this awful voice coming from behind. It said, man, I ain't even wait to see who it was. Broke outside in my drawers and screamed so long, cuz got halfway up the block, I calmed down and stopped screaming, then thought, oh, I get it, I must be dreaming. I strolled back home with a grin on my grill. I figured since this is a dream, I might as well get ill. I walked in the house, the big bad fresh prince, but Freddy killed all that noise real quick. He grabbed me by my neck and said, here's what we'll do. We got a lot of work here, me and you. The souls of your friends, you and I will claim. You've got the body and I got the brain. I said, yo, Fred, I think you got me all wrong. I ain't partners with nobody with nails that long. Look, I'll be honest, man, this team won't work. The girls won't be on you, Fred, your face is all burned. Fred got mad and his head started steaming. But I thought, what the hell, I'm only dreaming. I said, please leave, Fred, so I can get some sleep. But give me a call, man, maybe we'll hang out next week. I pat him on the shoulder, said thanks for stopping by. Then I opened up the door and said, take care, guy. He got mad, drew back his arm, and slashed my shirt. I laughed at first and thought, hold up, that hurt. It wasn't a dream, man, this guy was for real. I said, Freddy, Hal, it's been an awful mistake here. No further words, and then I darted upstairs. Crashed through my door, then jumped on my bed. Pulled the covers up over my head, said, oh, please do something with Fred. He jumped on my bed, ripped through the covers with his claws, tried to get me. But my alarm went off, and then silence. It was a whole new day. I thought, I wasn't scared of him anyway, until I noticed those rips in my sheets, and that was proof that there had been a nightmare on my street. Come on. Come on, Jeff, answer. Come on, man.
Hello?
Jeff, it's Prince, man. Jeff, wake up. Jeff, wake up.
What do you want?
Jeff, wake up, man. Listen to me, Jeff.
It's 3 o'clock
Jeff,
in the morning.
listen,
What
Jeff,
do you
would
want?
you listen to me? Whatever you do, don't fall asleep. Jeff, listen to me. Don't go to
I'll
sleep,
talk to you
Jeff.
tomorrow.
Jeff,
I'm going
Jeff.
to bed.
Jeff! Jeff!